Alright, so today I'm going to walk you through the process of how we create our weapons for the game and how and create a little bit of a tutorial about it. So you can follow me along. You can use this to create your own weapons. It's a really simple process. Actually, when it comes to modeling, we mostly just start with 3 cubes, something like this, just to mark out how we want the sword. Just duplicate duplicate the cubes, just scale them up so you get the kind of the idea that you want for the game. So I'm using short commandos now. You can use here. You can use this one as well if you're not entirely comfortable with using the all the keys yet. But pretty much what I do when I do this is just change between scale, rotate, and all of that. And that is W for moving, E for rotating, and R for scaling. But pretty much what we do is we create this really basic looking sword like this. I'll select them all and move them up a little bit so it's easier to see. Um, and once we've done this, this is like this is where the fun begins. No, but this is after you have this, it is time to kind of create what kind of weapon you want to have. And I'm gonna create quite a simple weapon today. So I'm just gonna start by adding, if you have the multicut tool, you can see you can add like lines like this. But if you hold Control, you get this one, and if you hold Shift as well, you kind of get like this snapping thing. And then if you just find the middle, just put down uh, a line in the middle like that, and I'm just gonna move that line up a little bit so we have this edge on top of the weapon. So I said I'm gonna create a really kind of basic looking sword, but you can honestly just add lines and do pretty much whatever you want with this later on. And then I'm gonna just add another line somewhere in the middle here and select all of the pivot points, no, all the verticals, and just scale them out a little bit. Yes, so you have a little bit more of a shape, a curved shape to it. Once you have this, you can just take the multicut tool again, hold Shift, and just select the middle there again. And then if you double click on the edges, you get this. You select all the edges around the middle, and just scale them out a little bit like that. Uh, and then go to vertex and do same up here. Just do a little bit of a. Let's move this one up, something like that. And also, what you want to do now is to get a better look of how it looks. You just want to go to mesh display here, or up here, mesh display, and then just harden the edges. This makes like all the edges, instead of having if we do like this, if you soften them, you kind of don't see the line, but if you have hardened, you see like all the edges. And that also depends on what kind of style you want. I want all the weapons to be quite hard edges, low poly style, so I'm gonna go with the hard edges. I also wanna select all the top ones here and just scale them in a little bit. And same with these, just take all of them, just scale them in a little bit, so you kind of have this, that it actually gets smaller the taller it goes. And then I also want to make the sword a little bit taller, so I'm going to select the top ones and move them up a little bit more. Something like that. Right, so now we have the basic shape for the blade. We're going to go and first of all create the hilt for the sword. I'm going to do is just I'm just going to put down a line in the middle, and then select all of these faces and delete them. Makes it so much easier to work if you can mirror it over later on instead of having to do everything twice. And what I want to do is I kind of want a quite simple hilt for this one as well. So I'm going to take this and just scale it in a little bit like that maybe. And then use extrude and extrude it out a little bit. Something like that. Looks like a good length for the hilt. And then I want to add, so let me just take it, press Control, get this one. Something like that. Take these edges, scale them up, something like that. So you have a little bit of a shape to it in here. I'm also going to do harden edges again. Mesh display, harden edge. That's all these edges get like hardened. Same here, you can see the edges get hard. But this looks, even if we mirror it over right now, it's still gonna look quite boring. So I want to add a little bit more of a shape to it. And the simple way to do that is just add another line, select them all, just move them in a little bit. And I actually want it to go out again in the end, but I also want it to be a little bit thinner. So I'm going to take all of these and move them up. So just select, you can select the face instead. Select the face, and then just move all of these up until you're happy. And we can honestly take just this edge as well and move it down a little bit, something like that. Now if we harden it again and we mirror it over, just this, and you select mirror. And if this is like wrong, you can maybe get like this. Just take the axis and go until you find like your axis, and then use the direction to see if it's like this. You just take the direction and just swap it over to minus or plus, depending on which side you're modeling. And then you have something like this instead, suddenly. And this honestly looks like an okay hilt right away. And I'm gonna come back to it later. I just wanna box everything out a little bit before I start adding the details, so I know kind of how the sword is gonna look. And then once I know that, I wanna add the details. I wanna add all the extra things to it. So now we have the hilt. Some people do a square from the beginning. I'm not gonna do that. I like doing, no, some people go with cylinders, but I'm not gonna do that because I like the squares. I think that gives a more a easier workflow when you do it like that instead. But what I want to do is that I want to add another line in the middle here, something like that, and just select these lines here, and just scale them out a little bit, so you kind of get this kind of cylinder formed shape, but so just get a little bit, that's a complete square. Because if you have a complete square, it's gonna look quite boring in the end. But also this is like way too short for this sword, so we're gonna take this and just drag these edges down, and then the edges down a little bit, so you have a little bit of a longer hilt. Same, I'm just gonna move it up so it's easier to see for you guys. But it still look quite dull, quite boring. And a really easy way to fix like the shape of it is pretty much to add another line somewhere in the top half of it. Just select it all, and just scale it in a little bit. You can directly see that it looks so much better just by adding this one line. It makes such a big difference for how it looks, how it feels. But we also want to do one like down here as well. Add another line, just do the same thing, just scale it in a little bit. And you can see now that we have this kind of hilt handle shaped handle. And the final thing we want to add is that we want to have something like something to end it off, something in the here in the bottom, and then I just usually take a square and scale it up so the entire thing is fitting inside it. And same here, just add another line in the middle, because then we have this kind of line going throughout the sword all the way up to the top. And just either select these edges and drag them out, but I'm gonna select all of these other edges like that and actually scale them in instead. So you kind of have the same shape to it as this one up here. And we are going to do a really like simple ball looking thing now. So I just want to add 2 lines to this and select the faces. Just double click and you can select all of them and just scale it out a little bit like that. And then do the same here, just add 2 lines. Doesn't really have to be in the middle. And then I want to select these 2 and drag them out like that. And then select the top ones here. And then do the same thing, just scale them out a little bit. Now if we harden the edges on this one, mesh display, harden edges, you can see we got some sort of knob in the bottom there. Alright, so now that we have the basic outline ready, I actually want to go over to texturing and then continue working on the details. It's so much easier to see once you have the colors in place. One bright metal and one a little bit darker metal. Something like that. I also want to have kind of a brownish color for the handle. So we're going to go with something like this. No, a little bit better, like that. And I also want to have like a emerald kind of color as well. We could actually add another, like a little bit brighter brown as well. Yeah, I think that's gonna be enough. We can actually remove this one. This is like enough for this, and you don't need anything else than this. You could honestly just take the texture and do like this as well. But I'm gonna keep it like this because it's like an OCD thing that I like having 1024 times 1024 textures. And then I save this. So just right click to the object, so you get this one. And then down here you have material attributes. And then you press the little black white box over there. You get this one. You select the file. You go in, you click this one, the folder, and then you just go to wherever you saved it, select the file, and just open it up. You won't notice any difference right away, but if you press 6 on your keyboard, you get, well, it still looks quite the same, but you get the textured version of it. So if you now go into Eevee Editor, you can get it from here instead, like this up here, Eevee Editor. You can see now that we have the texture in here, but currently no object is going there. So I'm just gonna drag this over here, something like that. What we want to do now is that we want to select the entire thing and just go up here or go into UV and just automatic, and you get something like this probably. You could actually remove this one because that's bottom part of the sword and we don't need that. But then you select all of them, scale them down so that they fit inside the dark metal square. You see the sword then becomes gray. But why I added this brighter one is that I want to have another color to the sides of the sword. So I want to select all the sides, something like that. You can see all the edges are selected now. And same, just press the automatic again, scale it down, and just put it up and up here instead in the bright. Now you can see we have kind of the two different colors. It doesn't look that much, but it makes quite a big difference when you have the game. Like if you do like this, it looks quite boring, quite fast. It has so little color in it. So just doing something like this makes a huge difference in the game or on the model as well. And same here, just select the hilt, do the automatic, just scale it down and place it on the dark gray. Here comes the interesting part, because depending on how you want your hilt, I want my hilt to be kind of a leather color, but I want the edges of it to be brown. So I'm gonna add another line pretty much like there, and I want to add another line quite like there, and then I want to just select this surface, and then just double click, and then select this, and double click, and then up here select this one and double click as well, and then just extrude these ones a little bit out, something like that. And then you select all these faces again, just select all of them, and then you also select the top ones. Just press this one and double click there, and just go down to select this one and double click there. And then I want to do automatic on just these ones, scale them down and put them on one of the brown. We'll try with the dark one first, and then just select all the other faces that are left. You can just pretty much just drag across the entire thing. You see that I selected all of them, and same here, just automatic, scale it down and put it on the metal instead. So now you can see we have two different colors to this. We have the brown, and we have the metal as well behind it. But what you could also do if you want to have like a wooden handle is remove this and put them in the brown instead, and suddenly you have like brown on brown, so you have leather and you have some kind of wood color behind it. So you could actually go with that, because having a lot of different, like the more variation you have, the better it's gonna be most of the time. And for the bottom one, just select the entire thing, do automatic, and then just drag it to metal as well. Something like that. So now we have pretty much, honestly we have a sword now, and this could work for your game. But we could add a little bit like more to it as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select both of these sides, the triangle sides, and I'm gonna press extrude, press on this box over here so you can get the scale tool, and then I wanna scale them down, something like that, and you can scale them in a little bit if you want to as well. And then press extrude again, and just extrude them in a little bit, something like that, and then you have a little bit of a more, just directly more interesting shape. And then select both of these, or all four of the faces, and scale them down and just put them on the lighter gray as well. And that definitely looks a lot better right away. What I also want to do is I want to select all of these edges for the sword, or for the hilt, so all of them. So just double click on all the edges. So now that all of them are selected, I want to go to Edit Mesh and just bevel them a little bit. And you can change the fraction here depending on how much you want it. I just want a little bit, like so, just to get a little bit more of a shape to it. And on the edges here, I also want to do another thing, that I want to take these ones and I want to scale them out a little bit, and I want to add another line here and just scale it in a little bit as well, so you don't have the because I don't like to have like shapes like just like this. It's better to have a depending on what you're gonna have, of course. Like here we want that shape, but generally speaking, I rather wanna have a shape like this because it looks more natural. And the same, just go into mesh display, harden edges, and see how it looks. Looks quite okay. We could add another line up here as well and just scale it in a little bit, I think. Just to have a little bit more of an interesting blade shape as well. So now you have pretty much a Skyrim steel sword. And I also added this bluish color because I want to have a like a gem in the middle here. So I'm just gonna take a square. I'm gonna rotate it and hold the G and just rotate it a little bit. So you have it like this. You could also do it by just going in here in the attribute settings and just go here and rotate it 45 degrees. And what I want to do now is that I want to select these faces, extrude them, and then just press the boxes, one of the boxes, and just scale it in a little bit, like that, and extrude it out. Scale it in a little bit more. And then pretty much just, you can honestly just remove all of these. And then move these two over to this side, and then you can see that maybe you wanna scale them. Also, if you have this, if you want to scale something like this, if you scale it like this, it's gonna go like this because you have object selection on. So if we go to window and then UI elements, no, you have, let's see if we can find it. There, modeling editors, and you have modeling toolkit. And then you get this one. And what you can do is just go in here, scale settings, and just change the world setting instead, because then you have the world as your guide. If you go into object, you're gonna follow the object, which is currently rotated this way. But just go to world, and then scale it down, something like this, and a little bit more in. I think we're gonna have it. That looks pretty okay. And then you know the drill. Just click on it, select all the faces, click on automatic, scale it down, and now we're gonna put it on this teal color. And there we go, we have a basic sword now. What you also, depending on how you want to create it, like how you want to make the game, if you want to make it like, if you want to have several components of it that you can swap out or not. But if you just want to have this sword as one thing in the game, the best thing to do is also to go to mesh combine and actually combine it so that it's one thing. So now we can just move it around as a single object. And also a tip, like that makes it so much easier to rotate it in game and things like that, is if you press D, you get this one. This is the pivot point. Like this is where pretty much it's gonna rotate from all the time. This is like the center of the object. So a good thing is to move it down somewhere into the handle, because now if you move it, if you rotate it, it's gonna rotate from that point, not from, if you have it up here, if you rotate the object, it's gonna rotate like this. So that's just a good tip for making your life so much easier when you actually put it into a game. And what I also forgot to do now is that we should actually, if you forget to do something like I did now, because you can see these two are completely different, you can go into mesh and then use separate again, and then you have all the objects in a separate, like separate again. And I want to do the mirror over this again, so I'm just going to select all these faces, remove them, select this one, and then just mesh and mirror again. And you can see I got it on the wrong side, so I'm just going to change the direction to plus instead. There we go. And then I select all of them again, mesh and combine. What you also will notice now, if you go into window and outliner, you have here, is that you're gonna have these ones. These are like the previous objects. They are currently like affecting everything. So if you're gonna like remove one of those, you remove like a bit of data. Honestly, you do not need them at all. So what you can do is you can go into edit, delete all by type history, and they will remove, like disappear. And then you just have this one single object. Because otherwise, if you import it to Unity and you still have them, you're gonna have a lot of. I can actually show you if you have like this, and then you export it. If you open this up, you're gonna have a lot of like these ones, which are completely useless. They doesn't add anything. You just want this single one. So it's just better to just edit, delete all by type history, and then you have just this single one. And a good thing also to remember is try always name your objects. So this one, just name it sword, make it so much easier to, especially when we're working in bigger objects such as when I do like the swords here, I name them all like blade 1 to 10, 1 to 22, just so I can get a better, I actually know what is a blade and what, because if they're all called polysurface 255 or polysurface 5, I'm not gonna have any idea what it is without actually going through and looking at every single one. Now I just know what it is from looking at the name. So that makes it your whole life so much easier. But yeah, so now if we export it all, as you can see, we don't have any texture on it at all, so it just looks quite boring. So what you want to do is that you want to also import your texture. So just go to wherever you put it. I put it here somewhere. There we go. Just drag it in to your asset, to your Unity. This is called sword now. So you want to go in and create a material called sword, or whatever you want to name it. Drag it onto the object. And here you want to go in to this one. Go to base map, click this little circle here, circle thing, and then you can just search for sword. And you get this one. You just press it, and now you have the colors to it. So that's pretty much how we created most of the weapons that we have. But we created, like, instead of doing the whole sword but one by one, we have all these different, we didn't connect the parts so we can randomize them. But that's pretty much the way to create a really simple sword for pretty much any game. And you can see it really easy to just change it up if you want to add anything, or if you want to do something with it. Like maybe you want to have a kind of more of a pointy blade. You can just pretty much just scale it down quite easily. Just mix it up, and you can instantly get so much different results by doing quite little as well. And it's also really easy if you want to add multiple objects now. If I want to add another blade, I can still just use the same one, the same texture, and just do the same thing all over again. So what I do with my like swords here in Unity. And if you go into this, you have this texture, which is like it's the same, but it's just a little bit bigger. So I have all the colors that I need for all the weapons inside one texture, and I just use the same material for all the weapons. It's really good for optimization in the game. Once you have a lot of materials, once you have a lot of objects, it's better to have as few as possible. But anyway, I hope that it helped any one of you to create a sword in any kind. Um, I'm gonna be posting some more tutorials about how we create weapons later on. I'm also gonna walk you through the process of like creating future weapons, and even buildings and things like that. Anyway, if you're interested in our game, follow us on Twitter. We have some amazing content there, and I hope to see you all again.